Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. If you haven't noticed, there's a pattern going on around us involving portals. They are normalizing portals, and they're normalizing portals for a lot of different reasons. Now we've just heard of a story of a man in Ohio and his family who has built their own Stargate right in their backyard. They've built a 50,000 pound Stargate with a dial home device to scan the cosmos. And most people hear these things and they think that it's merely a form of entertainment, that this man put thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of dollars into creating his own Stargate because he wants to hang out in his backyard and walk through a giant circle, which he probably could get something similar to at Party Fair or during Halloween time at Spirits, right? Or he could just make this thing using hula hoops or something along those lines, connecting a bunch of poles together and making a gigantic circle. But no, what the man is trying to create is a Stargate, and that may sound fictional to you because portals and dimensions obviously are something that sound very fictional to all of us because we only see the reality that's presented to us. So when we hear about portals and we hear about time traveling, we immediately think of movies like Stargate, which I'll get into in a second, or Back to the Future. And we think that this type of stuff is all fairy tale make-believe, but maybe one day they'll actually be able to do that. In fact, maybe one day they'll actually be able to summon things from the other side through time travel or dimension hopping. But what most people don't know is that the government has been working on this going back to Project Stargate back in the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s, much like we see with all these things the government was experimenting with back then when it comes to weather modification. You tell people about it today, and it makes their heads explode because they've been programmed to think that you can't control Mother Nature. So when you talk about weather modification, they automatically think that you're a crazy conspiracy theorist, and then you have to deprogram them to have them understand why the government has put so much money into weather modification and has government patents beyond patents, thousands of patents about controlling the weather and manipulating the weather through geoengineering. And then, of course, you have government documents like owning the weather by 2025. And here we are in 2025, where they're telling us that all these weird weather anomalies are happening because of climate change. Well, we could look at the same type of stuff with portals because the government has been involved in performing these types of experiments, which revolve around time travel and remote viewing. And it sounds crazy because we've seen all these movies that actually show us this stuff, but we've been told that that's fiction, that that's not real. And of course, if they don't tell you this stuff on the news, nobody perceives this as what could actually be going on in the world. But if your brain starts operating and you start saying to yourself, I'm seeing a pattern with them mentioning portals and mentioning dimensions, your brain starts to pick up on it because patterns, again, will awaken you to what's really going on. And then you say to yourself, well, why would the government pour so much money into some of these operations if they weren't really doing it? You think that they're doing this for fun, for make-believe? They don't expect the common citizen to ever investigate the patents and the things that the government, the projects that they're involved in. Thus, things like MK Ultra. Most people think that mind control is not real. The government admits to performing mind control. They admit that it's real. And what they do is they claim that they don't practice it anymore. So everybody just goes, oh yeah, it was something they might have been looking at for a few minutes here back in the day, but they don't do that anymore. No, they don't do that anymore. It's actually called the mainstream media and the news. They've realized how to control people's perceptions of what's going on in the world and completely simulate their reality. Thus, MK Ultra is loose on the general public as we speak, which is how we've gotten into this mess that we're in. So back to this guy making a portal, right? He's making a Stargate in his lawn. And no, I'm not saying that this is a real portal that you can go to and dimension hop. But I'm going to show you first is the pattern here with portals, right? A couple weeks ago, I covered this, the portal appearing in Philadelphia. Now, they're using the portal for, quote, remote viewing, which is a term you're going to hear a lot involved with what the CIA has been doing with remote viewing and distant or unseen subjects using the mind, being able to gather information via remote viewing. So we're seeing portal in Philadelphia. We just saw the portal in New York. We see the musicians whose job is to spellcast on the world, like Katy Perry, talk about the portal opening, right? Katy Perry opens the portal, literally, during a performance on national television, came out of a portal where you saw all sorts of demonic entities surrounding Katy Perry. Kanye West with the portals. Eminem recently with a new song, a portal from 2002 has opened in the city. And who comes through? Eminem comes through the portal and time travels. The Weeknd with a portal, literally showing you demons on the other side that he's bringing over. The common theme with portals in these movies about witchcraft and sorcery like Harry Potter. The epic universe that's opening in 2025 in Florida literally has a portal to enter the park. They tell you that you're going to go through different portals to enter the park. This is basic conditioning, and it's been happening on a very consistent basis, most recently with all the stuff I just showed you. And then think about all of these very popular things in culture like Stranger Things. The entire theme of the Upside Down, the entire thing of what they're doing is opening a dimension. It's a dimension, a portal to another world. The comic book movies that have become so popular, like Doctor Strange and all of this stuff about multiverse and dimension hopping. And this all ties in, of course, with CERN, because if you look at the portal from Stargate or the portals that are appearing in Philadelphia, New York City, and the conditioning that's going on with that, well, it looks a lot like the Hadron Collider at CERN, does it not? And of course, what are they trying to do there? Well, they tell you they're trying to bring black hole jets down to Earth, and they're trying to create black holes. And the majority of people have no clue what that means, so they just dismiss it and go, well, these guys are a lot smarter than I am. Let them do whatever they're doing out there. Instead of saying, who gave you the authority to do this? What are you actually doing? How much of our tax money is going towards this? And is this good for humanity? The answer to all of it is no, 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 and no, you didn't get permission from humanity to do this. But of course, they make you think that you're dumb while CERN uses the logo. If you've never seen the logo for CERN, which is literally the 666 symbol, CERN also involved with the creation of the internet. So when you think about dimensions, they talk about the physical realm and the digital realm and the spiritual realm. You start to connect all this stuff in your mind and say, whoa, there's something bigger going on here, right? So this guy just creates a Stargate in his backyard. Of course, it makes the USA Today, right? And that's why I'm covering it, because you're hearing about this out in the open. This is how you desensitize people to this eventual technology being unleashed on the public. And people out there not even blinking over it. Think about where we're at 10 years ago to now with technology. Think about that. When the cell phone was a flip phone, to what people are doing on their phones today, to deep fakes and AI. We're getting closer and closer to them unleashing this technology that they already have. It's just a matter of conditioning you into accepting it. So we look at Stargate, we look at this guy making it in his yard, and then, of course, USA Today somehow covering it because they want to cover it. They're covering that. They're covering the Philadelphia portal, the New York portal, right? And the plot to the movie Stargate. In modern-day Egypt, Professor Daniel Jackson teams up with retired Army Colonel Jack O'Neill to unlock the code of an interstellar gateway to an ancient Egypt-like world. They arrive on a planet ruled by Ra, who may sound familiar, Ra, and Aleister Crowley, who holds the key to the Earth traveler's safe return. Now, in order to escape from their intergalactic purgatory, Jackson O'Neill must convince the planet's people that Ra must be overthrown. And of course, Stargate the movie, even if you ask Google's AI, okay, because you should be able to correlate that the movie Stargate is based off of Project Stargate of your government, the CIA. Even AI will tell you, yes, the movie Stargate is somewhat based on the CIA's Stargate project. So this is not a conspiracy. It's just a matter of you being able to wrap your head around the fact that your government, going back to 1948, which also happens to be the year that a certain country became a state, the state of Israel in 1948, which is not to be confused with my people Israel. That's just the state of Israel. But the earliest record that the CIA historians have is of 1948, with the CIA having documentation, in fact, over 12,000 documents on the CIA's website referencing the Stargate project, which you could go look into for yourself, including holograms, including astro projection, including remote viewing. There's document after document after document. And this is the trailer for the movie Stargate.
It has been buried for thousands of years. A mystery. A secret. A threshold to the future.
Where'd you find this?
One man will break the code and open the door.
Well, this should read Stargate. What is it?
We've opened a doorway to a world we know nothing about.
It's on the other side of the known universe.
But they could never have imagined this.
Your job here is to realign the Stargate.
Stargate.
So you may have noticed some of the stuff in the trailer, the Egyptian gods, obviously. That portal, you would look at that and you'd say, isn't that a lot like CERN when they go through there and then they're suddenly in the upside down? Well, there's tons of movies that depict this, right? Your brain hasn't picked up on it yet, that they're showing you this for a reason. They're actually fictionalizing reality. This is a form of spell casting. And in that trailer, you might have seen they cross out door to heaven. They put a line through it, door to heaven, and then they write the word Stargate. And of course, it's not a coincidence either that while dimension, time traveling, portal hopping, we see the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, right on the hand of one of these Egyptian gods. Now, for anybody out there that's wondering about Project Stargate and what remote viewing is, it's a practice that involves attempting to gain information about a distant or unseen object using the mind. The CIA and other organizations have conducted programs to investigate remote viewing, but the CIA ultimately canceled, they claim, and declassified its program, just like they claim cloning, they canceled. Oops, we got caught doing stuff with cloning. We don't do that anymore. We just found out you can do it, and then we stopped, right? Oh, we were doing MK Ultra, and we found out that it works. That's why we invested so much money into doing it. We're trying to master it, and of course, we stopped doing it, right? Why would these sinister people start doing these operations and then suddenly cancel them, especially when they find out that it actually works? Well, because they think that you're going to actually believe them and take them at their word, because most people can't think further than they can spit. So here's just a little clip of what Stargate is about.
The CIA is hiding this from us. It's called remote viewing. Imagine being able to see any place or event in the past or the future with just the power of your mind. During the Cold War, the United States government was convinced that the Soviets had mastered extrasensory perception. They believed that Soviet mind soldiers were spying on American installations, foreseeing future threats, and locating hostages. This prompted the United States to fast-track Project Stargate, pouring millions into the venture. So how does remote viewing work? A trained military psychic sits in a dark and silent room. They clear their mind and focus on a target they've never seen. They use what ancient cultures called the third eye. But here is where it gets darker. This is not a new concept. The ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Chinese had seers who could foresee events and describe distant locations. The Indian Vedas even speak of sages with extraordinary vision. Even the Bible is filled with stories of prophets who has visions of the future. Could the CIA have discovered ancient secrets to harness this power? The declassified documents suggest that they've explored connections to occult practices and hidden knowledge from lost civilizations, even learning techniques from secret texts and ancient artifacts. Just think about it. Why would the government invest so heavily into something unless they knew it worked? Do you think they are still using remote viewing today?
So that might sound familiar to you because it's very much like the character 11 in the television show Stranger Things, which also depicts the Montauk Project. These are other government operations. They mention MK Ultra in Stranger Things. They talk a lot about MK Ultra in the first couple of seasons of that, which I've covered in videos that are available now on the website, which they've removed from here because they don't expect you to actually wake up and pay attention when you're watching these shows. You're supposed to be programmed and conditioned. And that, again, it's a form of spellcasting. And another thing people don't know about is the Stargate itself was found in Sudan by a British Army colonel named Reginald Blumenthal in 1928. And from there, when this man discovered the Stargate, they supposedly went through the Stargate and were doing remote viewing. And of course, nobody believed him. And kind of like all the stuff we've heard about Tesla, with the Trumps gaining access to the things that Tesla was working on, like earthquake machines and time travel, etc., it got put into, of course, very evil and very wicked hands. And it's believed, a lot of people believe, and I don't know what you guys think about it, but I've read a lot of things about how George Bush, when he fired close to 400 continuous missiles into Iraq, it was really about locating this supposed Stargate that was located under the ancient Sumerian city of Ur, and then bringing that Stargate where? Over to CERN in Switzerland. And in fact, even if you ask AI about CERN and Stargate, they say things like, AI even openly will tell you CERN, a Center for Scientific Research, has been involved in a discovery that could be related to the fictional Stargate device. And this is everything that they're trying to do at CERN. I'm going to play for you the clips here, again, from all of these shows and these movies that people don't realize they're being programmed with watching the same thing over and over and over again. They think when they're watching like Stranger Things, they don't realize when another show comes out like Three Body Problem that it's literally the same exact plot with just different actors and a little bit of a different twist, that all of these films that they're telling you are fiction are actually depicting reality. And even CERN themselves, as I've shown you many times, shows you in their commercial that what they're doing at CERN is not scientific, it's spiritual. They literally show you a gigantic circle which you would associate with witchcraft and sorcery if you pay attention to witchcraft and the craft and all this stuff that we see, not just in movies that they do out in the open when they have concerts on these circular stages. This is witchcraft. They're using spiritual warfare, and they're attempting to actually summon these things that are on the other side. And they show you that with CERN, they show you that with Stranger Things. Here's a bunch of clips that tell you exactly what's really going on in the world.
Have existed for over 100,000 years. You weren't so different from apes. How long did it take you to discover agriculture? It took you 90,000 years to get from hunter-gatherer to farmer. How long did it take you to become industrialists? Atomic power, computers, the information age. And how long do you think it took us to get from hunting to farming, and farming to industry, and industry to atomic power? We are going to kill your science. It's a proton. One we have turned into a sentient computer. The universe has more dimensions than the 3 we occupy, but we have the technology to unfold them. We summon energies you cannot imagine. Even a tiny proton becomes something very large. A proton has virtually no mass, to the places where your best minds explore reality. Every civilization ends in chaos. There will eventually be a cataclysm from which we cannot recover. Our planet will be ripped in half.
Well, basically, there are parallel universes, infinite variations of it.
Like the Veil of Shadows.
And the tightrope is our dimension, and our dimension has rules. You can move forwards or backwards. The flea can also travel this way.
Upside down.
Exactly.
Is there any way for the acrobat to get to the upside down?
You'd have to create a massive amount of energy, open up some kind of tear in time and space. You create a doorway, like a gate. It might even swallow us up whole.
Now, have you heard of the Garrow Research Facility?
In Long Island, the particle accelerator?
Yeah.
And it actually splits the proton of the atom.
Well, you know more than I do.
Well, it's a 14-mile loop that accelerates electrons and protons close to the speed of light.
Local parishes in Ryland are protesting. The particle accelerator will open the gates of hell.
So the scientists, they want us to prove they're not opening the gates of hell.
What's that? Something that was filmed down in the particle accelerator.
Satan, help us open this portal. We deliver this sacrifice to you.
The Vatican is asking you to investigate and write up a report.
It's a prank, right?
Well, I don't know. That's your job.
They make that video, Doctor.
We're in a friendly competition with CERN, particle accelerator in Switzerland. They did a similar video making fun of the satanic panic about their opening. So what can we do to convince you we are not Satan worshippers?
I mean, it's just the name that the night ship calls it. B-33. On the proton collider, they broke through something. But there's something there. Something under the concrete. A creature. They dragged that woman into it.
That's where the beams converge.
Oh, and your safeguards.
The beams are accelerated around the loop at 13,000 revolutions per second.
Any concern about an uncontrollable black hole?
It's not going to happen.
I know. Just humor me.
There's concern about anything.
So we're constantly seeing this theme in movies and television shows about portals and dimensions, right? But people out there don't realize that the government, what they're actually doing at these intel agencies is experiments on human beings, experiments like this with time travel, things that you don't openly hear about. Why? Because you don't hear about it on the news. What do you hear about on the news? You hear about, well, can men have babies? Could 5-year-old boys become girls? Can we do all these things? Is this real? Is it all nonsensical nonsense that they get you obsessed with, and they get you into what they call culture war, battling over. And little do most people know what's really going on in this physical realm. This is all spiritual. That's the things that are going on. And these politicians are all part of this grand conspiracy working together to keep you in the dark with what they're actually trying to do here. And the climate agenda, again, it ties into the cooling of the earth with being able to have these things come over from the other side so that they could actually live in this realm, removing carbon, right? Because the things on the other side supposedly cannot exist on this side because of the way God made it here on Earth, and they're trying to change all of this stuff. So you go all the way back to what this video is about, right? An Ohio man building a Stargate, and every 99.9% of the people will see that, and they'll think it's like a Halloween set in his backyard. It's a good time. Ooh, how cool. Can we build one in ours? Because that's really what they've done to humanity. That's the thinking part. What can I do to decorate for Christmas? What could I do to decorate for Halloween? Ooh, this guy made a portal. What could I do? We're literally living in the zombie apocalypse, okay? We're watching the dumbing down of humanity while they show you this stuff, right? They're putting portals in Philadelphia and New York. And no, I'm not saying you could walk up to the screen and go through it and end up like in Stargate in another dimension, but they're normalizing this. They're desensitizing you to it, because if the technology's in place, what they're going to want to do is have a bunch of these things all around us so that interdimensional beings could come through. And they're going to tell you that they're aliens and that they're good people and that we should care about them and love them. Part of all this deception going on with loving and tolerating everything, right? I mean, there is so much symbolism around us with these portals. It's unbelievable. I just showed you the last couple of months in the beginning of this video with Katy Perry, Eminem, Kanye West, The Weeknd, right? The epic universe that's coming. And then all these movies that constantly show you this theme. All one needs to do is investigate what your own government is doing. What is the CIA doing? Nobody asked that question. What do you think they're doing? Oh, the CIA is protecting us from Al-Qaeda. Oh, is that what they're doing? Why don't we go into all government documents of what the CIA has been up to? Oh, Project MKUltra. Oh, human cloning. Oh my goodness, Project Stargate, the Montauk Project, all these projects about interdimensions, time traveling, remote viewing, okay? Nobody out there has the slightest clue. And then when they hear this stuff, it blows their mind. They're like, whoa, I can't believe that. You're saying like Back to the Future type stuff? That stuff's real? Wait, demons are actually real? They could bring these things over from the other side, Egyptian god. They can't grasp it because of the conditioning they've gone through with them putting this in movies and showing it to them because it has an effect on their mind. That's part of MK Ultra. Seeing all this stuff as fiction and then thinking some guy just creatively came up with it, like Robert Zemeckis or James Cameron. Ooh, a Terminator. Wow, they're real artistic visionaries. Steven Spielberg. They're told to make these movies because MK Ultra has that effect on you. When you go to the movies and see all this stuff going on, you think, wow, they're real creative. That's really cool, right? You can feel your soul clinging to some of these movies because the truth is actually being revealed to you. Then you're told that stuff could never, ever happen. Maybe one day it could. Maybe, right? Like when Terminator happened, everybody was saying, oh, there's no way that's ever going to happen. Well, now people are going, oh, it is happening around us. And we're literally allowing it to happen around us because that's how MK Ultra works. So the world we're living in is not what you really think it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot more spiritual than your eyes actually show you. And the things going on around us and the power that these wicked demonic beings have is frightening. It is literally frightening. And they're showing you all this portal stuff for a reason. And again, I'm not saying go to the guy's yard in Ohio and you could actually jump through a dimension, but it wouldn't surprise me with the amount of money that he's put into it, that it's not, that it's more than just some type of fun experiment in his yard, that it's actually a government experiment, probably a government operative. And they're saying, look, don't go to his house and don't go near it. He'll shoot you if you trespass on his property. That's more the message that I got from these articles, is them letting you know on his behalf, don't come near his property if you see his Stargate, if you're flying a drone above or something like that. Because maybe it actually works. Who knows? Wouldn't surprise me this day and age. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.